Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing as we're all about UFC 166 on tonight's program. Reed Kuhne from Fightnomics.com will join us, and we'll crunch the numbers and dig down deep into the numbers. And when you look at Cain Velasquez's numbers, they're all good, except with the exception of that one freak knockout to Junior Dos Santos, and that's why here we are with the trilogy, a trilogy that everyone's looking forward to, except the loser of this fight's going to find himself steamrolling inferior competition, but having to wait to get a championship opportunity once again. Speaking of wanting to get championship opportunities once again, Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert Melendez doesn't lose a lot of fights, and now he sees a guy that he beat in Josh the Punk Thompson more than once, fighting for the UFC Lightweight Championship. Big fight for Gil Melendez against Diego Sanchez. Joey Odessa will join us. Reed Kuhne. We got videos of the week. All that and more on tonight's MMA Meltdown. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency, and they say they like to do things bigger in the state of Texas, and they're not messing around this Saturday night. They're doing things bigger, as we've got the trilogy, people. It's the 13th trilogy in UFC history, and it's Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. Cain Velasquez, a little bit more than a 2-1 favorite, about minus 215 in this third tilt, and of course, JDS knocked Cain out the first time around in Los Angeles. And then Cain got his revenge and absolutely mauled Junior Dos Santos. So now Cain is the 2-1 favorite. It looks like the lines makers out there put more respect in the 25-minute beatdown than they do in like the 53-second knockout that occurred. So Joey Odessa is going to join us later, and we're going to talk to the best odds maker in the business. But let's talk to another numbers guy, another guy who's the best in his field. Working on a book. The finishing touches are being done right now. It's going to be available in time for the holidays. Of course, it's Reed Kuhne from Fightnomics. Reed, it's always a pleasure. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's fight week, so, I'm amped up as usual. Yeah,
and this is a pretty good fight week as well. It's easy, there's a lot of cards, and, especially for those of us in the media, I can't really come on and say, you know what, this card really sucks, or this main event sucks, and this entire card sucks. Although I will say I don't care about Lyoto Machida fights anymore, but that's besides the point. And I'm pretty honest about it. I'll go through the motions, but I like every card nevertheless. I enjoy betting on the fights and watching them. But this card I am excited about. I've got a great main event, and it's just so important, this fight. The loser of this fight's just so screwed. When I look at the heavyweight division, Reed, I see Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, and then everybody else. A lot of tiers below that right now. And one of these guys is going to finally distance themselves from the other guy with a win in this third fight.
You're absolutely right. It's a tough spot because someone's going to be on the outside looking in after this. And even though we're all excited for the trilogy fight, it would be hard to just keep putting them in there over and over again, even though they are hands down the two best heavyweights in the division. So whoever loses this one, each fight that they take, it's kind of an asterisk title fight. It's, someone else trying to earn the shot at the title. It's almost a perennial contender fight for whoever's not the belt holder. And with each of them having one loss to each other, it's a perfect spot for the trilogy bout. So I dug into this one pretty deep to look at what the numbers told me. So it was interesting analysis.
Yeah, and I looked at the Fightnomics cheat sheet. It's great stuff. You guys do great work at Fightnomics. I look at the cheat sheet, and in the cheat sheet, there's a ton of numbers there. But I like how you break it down with the color format as well, and stating red is good, green is bad. And I tell you, man, there's a hell of a lot of red under Cain Velasquez's name, man. Not a lot of things that he doesn't do well from, most knockouts in UFC history, the significant strikes, extremely high numbers, the strike differential. Not only does he hit you a lot, he doesn't get hit very often. When you look at the numbers, are Kane's Fightnomics numbers pretty much as good as any other fighters?
Yeah, across the board, he's really solid. He's an efficient fighter. He performs well pretty much in every single category. And then he's got a few categories like his ground control stat, which is just ridiculous, and he's just unstoppable on the mat. And that's not surprising. But on the flip side, Junior Dos Santos actually does excel exactly where we would expect him to excel, and that's his hands. He has some of the best, most accurate striking in the entire heavyweight division, possibly ever. He's extremely accurate, he's powerful, and he has a very high pace when he outworks his opponents. That seems to be the case, except when he faced Cain Velasquez in their last fight, and it was a 5-minute beatdown. And in my opinion, I think the reason for that is because Cain Velasquez had the takedown threat. It was constantly there. Even though he wasn't always landing the takedowns, he attempted 33 of them over the course of the fight. He landed 11 in total, 1 in each and every round. And I think that caused Junior Dos Santos to drop his hands a little bit. He couldn't be as quick on the trigger the way he normally is. I think that was the difference. It was the all-around game that Velasquez has that nullified this exceptional striking ability of Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah, there's just so many different angles when you look at this fight, and I thought it was interesting what Cain Velasquez stated. And, we hear a lot of fighters talk about, what people consider to be their weakness. Junior Dos Santos, great example, Reed, in past years. You guys never seen my ground game. I'm a black belt. I just don't have to go on the ground, but if I did, watch out. And we saw, well, it didn't work out so well for him against Cain Velasquez, but Cain seems to be pretty defensive about this coming into this fight, saying, if we stand, I'm very confident. I'll box him, I'll kickbox him. I'm very confident in my striking abilities. And as we stated, Cain doesn't feel as though he has a weakness, and I don't know if there's a better cardio fighter out there in any division. And it's really, how many times in any sport ever can we say such a big guy has such great cardio like Cain does, Reed?
Yeah, you don't see that very often. And in fact, in the last 5 years, they are the only two fighters to ever go 5 rounds, full rounds in the heavyweight division. So when I saw that fight, I was blown away. First of all, that Cain didn't finish it because he had JDS hurt a couple times. But they both went 5 rounds. Junior Dos Santos looked a lot more worse for the wear after that fight than Velasquez did. But yeah, there's something different about the genetics in that guy, Cain Velasquez. He is just a trooper. He goes round and after round, and people talk about it all the time. And you got to trust training partners when they talk about conditioning. That's not one of those things that people blow smoke over. Oh, this guy's he's big and powerful, or he's got slick submissions. Sometimes that can be wrong. But when they talk about someone's cardio and work ethic, that's usually an honest appraisal, and people have been glowing about his cardio for a long time, and we saw him use it for 5 straight rounds. It was absolutely punishing what he did to Junior Dos Santos in their last fight. So the longer this goes, the more this plays to Velasquez's favor. Because not only do submission rates drop as time goes on, but knockdown rates drop as time goes on. People just don't have the same amount of oomph in those punches. And so how is Junior Dos Santos going to finish this fight late in the game when he's exhausted against an overwhelming all-around fighter like Velasquez?
This rivalry has been extremely frustrating for me, Reed. And I never bet against Cain Velasquez. I just never did. He was one of my favorite fighters. I liked him personally. I thought he was a real cool dude, humble guy for, what a badass that he actually is. And I never bet against him. And I had Cain when he lost the night in Anaheim, and I was in California. The night that he lost, I had Cain. And then I take Junior the second time around. Like the classic zigzag in the wrong way here. So now we're coming into the third fight. I think Cain is better. I think he is more well-rounded. I think he's just so damn determined. We mentioned the cardio. I think he has more tools at his disposal. So I understand why he's the favorite. I think he is going to win. But with that being stated, I'm 0-2 so far with these guys. Who do you like, Reed?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think I did get burned a little bit the last time around, thinking that, statistically I see how good Junior Dos Santos' hands are, and without the Cain Velasquez fight, they look even better. And so when they had that second fight, I thought, well, he did it once, he could probably do it again, and I was really hesitant to go either way on that fight, but I was kind of expecting to see another knockout, just because his hands are so good. I figure, hey, the best in the business is going to do what he does. But we saw that that's not always the case. This isn't just a boxing match. This is an MMA fight, and that's what Velasquez brings to the table. So I think I have a better perspective when I look at these numbers now. I understand how the strength of Junior Dos Santos works and how it doesn't work, or when it doesn't work. And so that's why I'm leaning towards Velasquez. I think as long as he presses the pace, he uses the clinch, he mixes in takedowns, it's going to make his entire offense that much more effective. And maybe it goes 5 rounds, maybe it doesn't. I think it was unusual that he wasn't able to finish. Maybe this time he's a little bit more relentless. I think Velasquez eventually gets the finish. It may take a while, but I think he wins. He wins the round, and I think he gets a striking finish.
And for the record, Reed, the betting market has the total set at 3.5, which is extremely high. As you stated, the only guys that ever actually went 5 rounds. But 3.5 for a heavyweight fight. You'll see 3.5 for a lightweight fight at times for a championship fight. 3.5 for a heavyweight fight's basically unheard of.
It's crazy, and it's only slightly less crazy than the co-main event having a minus line for the fight going the distance.
Yeah, I know, which is a 3-rounder. All right, so let's get on to that. We're both in agreement with Cain here. And, when it comes to the numbers, and, you can agree or disagree. You're a numbers guy, so you might say, that's not really the case. But the perception is when it's heavyweight, sort of throw everything out the window, and it's sort of whoever connects first is going to win the fight. Yet we see that to be a little bit different with Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. There are numbers to go by. And similarly, I think there are as well with Nelson and Cormier, only because of Roy Nelson's resiliency. You talk about, it's not often that heavyweights are going to go the distance, but you talk about a fighter that can, that's Roy Nelson, that can go the distance. Roy can get beat on. Cormier hasn't been knocking people out in the UFC. He has, but at the same point in time, he wasn't overwhelming. He apologized for his performance, I believe it was, against Mir. What do you make of this fight here? Because, people think, hey, it'll be fast. I can see this fight actually going the distance because they're both so tough.
I agree with you. I think when I look at these guys side by side on paper, Cormier has advantages in almost every single metric. The only one he doesn't have an advantage in is his knockdown rate, which is, as you said, he's knocked a few guys down, even out. It just hasn't happened very often. He's about average on par with the heavyweights in that metric. Whereas Nelson actually does have a little bit more of a big overhand right. He uses it. When he unleashes it and lands it, people fall down, so he has more wins that way. But both these guys have sturdy chins, and they are both older, and normally that's a risk factor for having for being knocked out. But Cormier is pretty fresh in the sport of MMA. He has not fought that many fights. He was a late bloomer, kind of like a Randy Couture, and so he simply hasn't taken very much damage. So while he should outperform here pretty much in every way, whether it's crisp in and out striking or wrestling, getting this on the mat and just being stifling all over the place, I don't see him taking one of those huge shots. I think he trains with Cain Velasquez. He should be having very good training partners. He shouldn't sit there and take a big shot the same way a Matt Mitrione or a David Pee Wee Herman took against Roy Nelson. I don't think Nelson's going to have that haymaker that he can land, and I think he's just going to get thrown around and beaten up for 3 straight rounds. But like you said, he's so durable. He is so hard to put away. He has taken so many clean shots and not gone down. It's hard to imagine that this is just going to be a one-punch knockout situation. So, the line at a glance is utterly ridiculous that heavyweights should be expected to go the distance in this case, at least according to the betting line. But I actually agree with that. I think Cormier takes this, but he takes it by decision, and he has to work, all 3 rounds to win this.
Yeah, and, you look at Roy Nelson, and he's lost a lot of weight. How much? We'll find out when he steps on the scale, but clearly it's a slim down Roy Nelson taking on Cormier. Yet at the same point in time, you got to believe at some point both these fighters will slow down. It's not like Cain Velasquez's great cardio has rubbed off on Cormier, really. Cormier has slowed the pace down as well in fights, so I could see it being a pretty slow pace. All right, Reed, it's amazing how quickly the time goes by, so we basically got to wrap it up in a moment or two here. But about these other fights, Melendez and Sanchez, for all you total bettors out there, about Sanchez, every fight's gone the distance since 2008. Every fight, 3 rounds and even a 5-rounder against BJ Penn. And Melendez probably not that far off from getting back into title contention with a win.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Melendez's fight to lose, but Sanchez has proved to be extremely durable, and so it wouldn't be surprising to make Melendez work for it.
Reed Kuhne, Fightnomics.com. I'm really looking forward to the book, so I can dig into the numbers anytime I want. If you can't wait for the book, check Reed Kuhne out, Fightnomics.com. Reed, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to the next one.
There's Reed Kuhne with us, who joins us before every big UFC event and pay-per-view. Joey Odessa joins us basically every week. I always look forward to Joey Bagels kicking it with us. We're going to crunch the numbers, find out which way the market is going. There's some big favorites this week, but Cormier should beat Nelson. Melendez is going to beat Sanchez. Velasquez most likely beats Junior Dos Santos. So, you get what you pay for in this world, right? You want to lay the juice? Looks like there's going to be a lot of parlays being laid this Saturday. MMA Meltdown continues. Thanks to Reed Kuhne from Fightnomics.com for joining us. If you missed the conversation, the program replays on the Fight Network as well, Fightnetwork.com as well as YouTube. And Reed Kuhne, one of the best in the business of crunching numbers, really looking forward to that book that he's working on right now. All right, let's get to our videos of the week. And we've got some pretty good videos this week. Face plants and face slams are the theme of the week. Let's start off with this is how you do it. How many times have you been watching a fight and you thought to yourself, why doesn't the guy just drop the other guy on his freaking face? Yeah, that's what this guy did.
でちょうど固まった状態だったんですね。それで落としましたので受け身が取れなかったという形になってますね。もう一度見ましょうか。これ腕も一部で固まってるんですよね。顔面から完全に失神しました。石渡慎太郎1ラウンドの2分17秒。要するにですね、どんなに有利な形持ち上げられてしまう寝技っていうのはダメだってことです。なるほど。はい。あとは決まる。
Normally, you see fighters after they've been knocked out, like, I'm okay, and they're getting up, and they're looking like, they still want to go. You see this guy after he got slammed on his face, he's got his hand up. No, that's it. That was pretty vicious. Not as vicious as this face plant, though. Now, the reason that I play that, and I was, we're all about face plants, but the reason I play that, that's cheerleading right there. You see that chick landed on her freaking face. All right, now you think the state of New York is going to, why don't you ban cheerleading? Actually, I shouldn't give that dumbass Bloomberg any ideas because the guy's banned everything else. Probably will ban cheerleading as well, but high school cheerleading is the #1 cause of athletic injury, people. Not MMA, not football, not hockey. but cheerleading. There it is right there. I don't think that girl is feeling too good. Not as good as this guy is after celebrating a win. I don't know if this guy's never won before. You know, what's the old phrase? Act like you've been there before, man.
He's going to work for a Kimura from this position.
Nice, setting up nice. He's got the arm isolated.
Sean Hampton looking to crank that arm. He's got it behind the back, and there's the tap. And Sean Hampton with a fantastic come from behind victory. Almost jumps out of the cage. And the crowd goes wild.
And then almost knocks himself out.
All right, chill out. See his
epic celebration from Sean Hampton there.
Almost wipes out the judges' table.
The doctors, the trainers are like, all right, hey, settle down, dude.
With a fantastic come from behind victory.
The old ass drop celebration. Pretty wild celebration. I love the trainer after telling the guy, just settle down, dude. Just to settle down. Guy's going to have like a broken femur or something like that after the fight. Didn't get hurt during the fight, got hurt during the celebration. All right, this next video is a bizarre one. I've seen, Forrest Griffin run out of the octagon a couple of times after the fight. I've never seen anyone bail mid-fight before. There's no timeout. The ref is like confused. Looks like the ref's got the situation under control there. I don't know. Who knows? Hey, come back. Really. I mean, at some point you tell a guy, I've never seen a fighter just call timeout besides Paul Harris, who did it against Nate Marquardt. Remember, mid-fight, he looks up at the referee to accuse Marquardt of being greased. And as we saw last week, Nate Marquardt's opponent, Paul Harris, isn't the sharpest fighter in the industry, is he? MMA Meltdown of the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency. It's bagel time as we send it to Costa Rica. The premier combat sport odds maker in the entire industry joins us, Mr. Joey Odessa. Joey, it's always a pleasure. How you doing?
Hey, my pleasure. What's going on tonight, Gabe? Recovering a little bit from that Marquez loss. Really, tough fight coming off the weekend. But it happens. You can't win them all.
And we can't blame C.J. Ross this time around.
No, we can't blame anybody. Look, in order to win, you got to know how to lose. A lot of people said, geez, that was, such a big bet and everything. It was just another Saturday night, another typical day in the life of somebody that in our profession.
It was one of those weekends, Joey. College football had some weird upsets. Some big underdogs were winning outright. Saturday night, Marquez just couldn't really get it going. And, of course, C.J. Ross was one of the judges when Bradley fought against Manny Pacquiao. But C.J. Ross has decided to retire. As I know you love it, Joey, when people say he was doing a horrible job, C.J. But she's ridden off into the sunset. Hopefully she's playing shuffleboard somewhere right now. And she has no intention of ever judging another fight. It was a close fight, but I thought the right guy won. I thought it was a good decision. Bradley deserved to win.
Yeah, Bradley won the fight. Look, he won it, I say 7-5. I thought we had a shot at the draw at the end, but it happens. I tell you, the giant elephant in the room that I was talking about, and, again, I got to be careful how I word it, was, and they addressed it on the broadcast, was the non-testing issue. And, straight up, I just figured that would be the difference.
You know, everybody keeps saying that the therapy does help, the therapy doesn't help. You know, whether look, it's not a placebo, and not to get into PEDs, it's not a placebo that they're giving them. It does something. You know, to say that it doesn't make testosterone doesn't, you know, help you in some sort of way is just, you know, to think the world's flat. But
yeah, but he didn't seem to be as juiced. He didn't seem to be as juiced as he was against Pacquiao. He wasn't quite, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if he was indeed juiced, I mean, we're saying that he was. We would assume.
Well, I beat around the bush. Of course he was juiced. You know,
I mean,
if he wants
like
to sue me.
I haven't been. I live outside the United States. I'm not worried about getting sued. Well, you too. The heck with it. You know.
Whatever. He's not gonna. His camp's not gonna understand us saying this. And what are you gonna sue? His camps are pretty stupid. They're telling him he's winning the fight. The guy's down. Yeah, but anyways, we got some UFC fights this week, Joey. Forget about Marquez and Bradley. Marquez and Bradley's behind us. No rear view mirrors. That's what you always say.
Yeah, it's true. I just had to touch base on it because I was really adamant about Marquez winning that fight. I really didn't see Marquez. Going in, I had it circled straight up. I mean, no shame in my game. I mean, I was wrong.
It is what it is. You're not wrong often, and you know, you haven't been wrong often about Cain Velasquez either, just that one time, because I know you've bet on Cain every time out. So we got caught with the knockout. You know, this time around, he's about a minus 215 favorite against Junior, and I've got all the respect in the world for Junior Dos Santos. I think JDS is better than everybody else in the heavyweight division, but I don't think he's better than Cain. I don't know if it's a ruthless beatdown like what happened last time, but it's hard not to like Cain Velasquez here.
I agree. I was going to say, you said he's better than everybody else. I was going to reply like my son would say, he's like better than everybody but me. That's the kind of answer my kid would give me, and he's better than everybody but Cain. Junior's got, what, he's 16-2. I believe I believe Cain's going to go through him again. Junior's got a puncher's chance. He's tough. He's got, you know, his personal life, whatever. I don't know if he's, you know, girlfriends, whatnot. You know, it happens a lot. And boy, here comes the YouTube hate. But, you know, the Brazilians are like the Cubans. They're like all these other, you know, guys that come up and they become, you know, quote unquote Americanized, and it ruins them. And I'm not saying that Junior Dos Santos is Americanized, but I think the Cain's going to beat him worse this time.
Yeah, Cain is just Cain is one of the few guys, and you know it's the head champion guys, the elite, like the legendary guys that are driven to keep the belt. You know, they don't become complacent. George St-Pierre has stayed motivated through fear of losing the belt, yet it's worked for him. Cain doesn't get soft, does he, Joe? You always talk about around the holidays, those fights around Thanksgiving, fights around Christmas, fights after New Year. You can catch a champion maybe soft, a lot of turkey, getting soft and hanging out with the family, or maybe partying too much, etc. But you throw all that out the window at Cain Velasquez. The guy basically is as focused and as hungry today as he was 4 years ago. It's amazing.
I agree, and you know, I attribute a lot of that to his lack of, you know, Brock Lesnar won an NCAA title, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys win these NCAA titles. Jake Rosholt from Oklahoma State, one of the most highly decorated wrestlers ever to go out of there. However, it hasn't transitioned into MMA. I was beating the Shane Roller drum saying because he didn't achieve the highest level, you know, NCAA championship or whatnot, that he would be the best of those team takedown guys. And hindsight right now, Johnny Hendricks is. But with Cain, even when he fought Lesnar, I mean, Cain's wrestling credentials are not really outstanding. But if you look at who he was in there and who was in his weight class during those years, people that followed the sport understood and said, Jesus, Mako was in there, you know what I mean? I mean, he had some monsters in there with him. And that was the difference. And I tell you what, the fact that maybe he didn't achieve the highest accomplishment in the NCAA wrestling might be what motivates him now and what led him on to become a champion here. And it might be what takes Daniel Cormier through Roy Nelson down to 205 to beat a guy like John Jones.
Well, he's got to get there first, and that's a pretty slick segue on your behalf, Joey, into Cormier and Nelson. Two guys I know that you like a lot here. I mean, Cormier, you've always been a fan of. I know you've selected him often in the past. So you've got Cormier, of course, buddies with Cain, coming out of the Bay Area and AKA against a slimmed down Roy Nelson. Everyone's been telling him to slim down, specifically Dana White. Yet really his fatness worked for him, Joey. I always wonder, when a guy changes something, will it help him? Will it help Roy being faster? Will he be that much faster because he's slimmer? It's like, his fat guy, his girth was working for him. He changes it up right now, going up against Cormier. It's a huge number in this fight, but Cormier should win.
Yeah, I mean, Cormier, you look at Cormier, and he doesn't look like, Cormier is no Congo in a bodybuilding contest.
No.
Neither is, obviously, Roy Nelson. I mean, it goes to show that neither's Kane. I mean, Kane is going to come in here, he's going to look soft, too. But right now, Cormier's weight's, I think his ballpark, around 225, 230 pounds. I heard that this week. Cormier, rather. So his weight's coming down. He's looking to get down to 205. This is his last fight at heavyweight, he says. Then he wants a shot at John Jones.
And Roy Nelson's talking about getting to 205. So it's just bizarre. We've got two heavyweights fighting each other that are both talking about going to 205, which I never imagined 205 would be possible for Roy Nelson, to be honest. Do you really think Roy will ever go to 205, Joey?
I hope not. I like Roy at heavyweight. I mean, I just look, his body's been that way since forever. I mean, Roy's no bodybuilder, and he uses his weight well. I mean, he had a couple of hiccups, and he lost, but he, to Stipe, but he's beaten some really good guys, and he's carried his weight well. And I think sometimes, cutting weight is not always the right way to win. Some guys, there's a lot of guys, in these back in the day with the wrestling. I mean, guys would work their way up to the next higher weight class instead of cutting the weight over in the European countries. They'd build themselves up to get stronger for their weight class. I mean, some guys cut weight, but it's just, I think that if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think Roy Nelson, is he ever going to be a heavyweight champ in the UFC? Obviously I'd have to say no. But can he be a competitive heavyweight all the time? Yes, he can. Can he be a top 10 heavyweight? On any given Sunday, we talk about it, we beat it like a dead horse. Any of those guys from the top 5 down are capable of beating any other one on any given day. I mean, heck, let's be real. I mean, if Roy Nelson puts one, or if Roy Nelson gets into the third round with somebody like Overeem and puts one on him, anything can happen. We've seen, Roy's got power, but
I'd take Roy against Overeem for sure. Yeah, I'd take.
A 210-pound or 220-pound Roy, though, against Overeem.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't like that.
I agree with you, too. I don't like, that's what I wonder. It's worked for you. Yeah, so what? Dana doesn't like it. Who cares at this point? Really, at this point, does it really matter? All right, Joey, we've got a couple of minutes left. So instead of going in the chronological order, we'll sort of bounce around and we'll quickly hit on a couple of the fights. We've got Melendez and Sanchez, another big favorite fight here. But we got some other interesting fights and pretty tough fights to pick a winner in. Lombard and Nate Marquardt. Nate Marquardt's Mr. Inconsistent, as is Hector Lombard. And a debut for Jessica Eye against Sarah Kaufman. Of course, Sarah Kaufman is a longtime veteran. Jessica Eye's been around a while, but she makes her UFC debut. And I've seen her fight before. She's pretty good.
Yeah, she's got some good wins. She beat that Zola. She beat that girl Dam.
Yeah, Karina Dam.
I tell you, Sarah in her last fight, she's coming off of I think it was a pretty close decision, split decision, right at Invicta. I forget who it was that she beat, but Sarah's a short favorite here. I tell you what, I think that Jessica's got a really good shot at winning this fight. And as far as Lombard and Marquardt, gosh, you talk about matching two guys up that are just so brutal. I mean, everybody's got to have a bad beat story about Lombard, and everybody. I know I have bad beat stories about Marquardt. I mean, he goes out, he beats Woodley, then he goes out and blows 2 fights, and Lombard comes in and gets beat by Boach, who's also on the card here, and it's a good matchup. I tell you what, it's tough to pick. It's tough for me to pick a winner here. I mean, Hector, you got to make Hector the favorite. It's tough not to. It's tough not to like him.
You figure that Marquardt would win because you figure he's a smarter fighter. He's faced tougher competition over the years. But you don't know with this guy. You know, you don't know. And Lombard, you don't know as well. Tim Boesch against CB Dollaway. Dollaway's a friend of the program, but I think he's in tough against Boesch here.
Yeah, I gotta like Tim Boesch here. You know, it's crazy. You know, numbers and everything. You know, Boesch's last 2 wins, he was an underdog when he beat. He beat Okami, correct?
Yeah, he beat Okami
and he beat Hector.
Yeah,
Hector Lombard. He was a dog at both of those fights, and he won them both. And he was a favorite against the New York kid Philippou, and he was a favorite against Mark Munoz in Munoz comeback, and he lost both of those. So he's 2-0 as a dog, and 2-0 winner as a dog, and a 2-0 loser as a favorite. He's coming in here as the favorite. So
it's funny how some guys are different like that, huh? Like, you know, with the different motivating factors of when you're supposed to win, you don't win, and then, you know, that's a fight I'll pass on. I won't touch Lombard and Boesch. I won't bet on it. I do think that Tim Boesch will win. Before we let you go, Joey, Bellator on Friday, Hahn and Weidman.
You know, I've been a fan of this Hahn. You know, I think Hahn wins the fight. It's not a bad card. They're building everything up for the pay-per-view. Now it's Congo and I guess the Russian kid are going to be on that pay. That pay-per-view is going to be outstanding until somebody, you know, counter programs it, or, you know, hopefully it goes off without any hiccups, because it's stacked top to bottom. Whether it puts them over the top or not, I don't know. That's while we're on Bellator, let's just I'll throw you a curveball here. Ben Askren and George St-Pierre. Now, I'm not the only guy out there that. How can you not see that it would be? I think it would be the most ridiculous business decision in the history of the UFC, maybe, to put Askren in there immediately against George St-Pierre for a title shot. That's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just handing over. I mean, if Askren did beat George St-Pierre, which isn't out of the question, it can happen. Askren's a phenomenal wrestler. He will take George St-Pierre down. Whether, you know, I'll tell you that straight up. He'll take George St-Pierre down.
George St-Pierre would beat Ben Askren. I don't want to say destroy or anything like that, but
I don't want to say destroy.
You're the odds maker.
Take George St-Pierre down.
You're the odds maker, Joey. What's GSP? Minus 500?
No, lower.
450?
I'm not even. If that's what the public is going to think, then I'm just going to sit back, because I push. It's not going to happen, the fight.
No, it's not. It's not. Askren would have to fight somebody else first anyways, and I don't know if
absolutely. And to keep calling him out is just absurd. I mean, it's just you don't.
Because look at Gil Melendez. Gil Melendez was a champion from another company, and they made him fight once. You know, you got to fight once, and then you'll get the championship shot.
Same with Lombard.
Yeah,
Lombard. He had to fight too.
Exactly. So, and they would think more highly of a Strikeforce champion, a company that they bought, than a champion from a company that they hate in Bellator, right?
Well, I would think more highly, period, of just common sense. Why put them on the same level? If Askren does go out there and beat George St-Pierre, all of a sudden now you have a rival organization. This makes no sense. I mean, I think Rebney's beaten
I know you're a big Askren guy. I know you like Askren a lot, but...
No, it's not that I like Askren a lot. It's just that I think that, you know, it is a competitive matchup. You can't take away anything from Askren. He is that good.
No, he is. He is. But is Askren better than Johnny Hendricks? Let's say Askren versus Johnny Hendricks. I think Johnny Hendricks would beat him.
Wow. You know, I really didn't put a lot of thought to that, because I tell you, I think that, you know, on the record, I think Johnny Hendricks is going to beat George St-Pierre.
I know. So you've got Hendricks beating St-Pierre, but you'd have Askren beating it. So in other words, Askren's your new champion.
It's like MMA math. It just doesn't, you know, I mean, Hendricks clips him. You know, Hendricks has the wrestling to hold Askren off, you know what I mean, better than George St-Pierre. And people are going to say, well, George St-Pierre's wrestling, his MMA wrestling is phenomenal. And that's what it's going to come down to against Askren.
GSP, come on. GSP is the Kane, and there's everybody else, you know? And I think GSP will still be champion Saturday night, November the 16th. But, Joey, unfortunately, we got to wrap it up. We'll keep the debate going on MMA Meltdown Radio, Sirius XM, channel 167, Tuesday nights. Joey joins us every week. Sorry to cut you off, Joey, but we're done. Always a pleasure.
Okay, have a good one, G.
There's Joey Odessa with us. Yves Levine's calling the show. It's over. It's done. Not quite done. We're going to come back and wrap it up. Joey Odessa. Follow him on Twitter, at MMA Odds on Twitter. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I asked you guys on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Sports Rage. So I asked you guys on Twitter, what do you think about this weekend's card? Who do you like? Who are your best bets, etc.? And we're getting a lot of feedback, and most of you will be laying it down on Cain Velasquez. Our boy Prodigy, Nick in Vancouver. How you doing, Nick? Prodigy. He likes Cain Velasquez. He likes Daniel Cormier, El Nino. And watch out for Sean Jordan. Dude's a dark horse. He's going to surprise many. You know, that fight, Sean Jordan and Gonzaga, that's another really, really difficult one. Marquardt and Lombard, type of fight in which you're really picking your poison. Both these guys are inconsistent, and you wouldn't be surprised if either guy won the fight. Gonzaga and Sean Jordan, you would believe that Gonzaga's pedigree, that Gonzaga would be a significant favorite. Not a huge favorite, but a significant favorite. You know, Jordan's just a football player, national champion, fullback with the LSU Tigers, yet he's not great. He's won a couple of fights in a row. He beat Mike Russo, and he beat Pat Barry. To me, that's another fight. If I had to take it, I'd probably take Gonzaga, but I think Gonzaga is probably done. You know, I don't know how much gas he has left in the tank. All right, Montreal Max sarcastically says, getting to the point now where all the main events have a number next to them. And Max is in the crowd that believes there's too many cards. And, you know, but this is one of the rematches, 3 matches, part of the trilogy, that people actually want to see, that we need to see. This is a significant fight. And to me, both these guys are so much better than everybody else in the heavyweight division. It's going to suck for the loser because there's not going to be a 4th fight. Fabricio Verdum will be fighting the winner. Verdum awaits. You know, whatever it is, what it is. All right, Spoiled Smokers in Toronto. He also likes Cain, Cormier, Melendez. Rest I have no strong opinion on. I tell you what, the bookies are going to be hoping for one of these parlay busters because people are going to be loading up on the parlays. Casey's actually in Washington. Casey says, got to roll with Cain, Daniel Cormier via speared and beard control. There's a value on DS, but Gilbert via decision. And Jordan makes a statement against a tenured Gonzaga. Kind of got to agree with most of that. I like the beard control. Is Nelson going to get rid of it? Of course, remember Dana White said it's disgusting and ratty, and he wouldn't want that thing rubbing up against him. Matthew Butt says Cain's wrestling going to be much too much for Junior Dos Santos. Now, speaking of Dana White often criticized after a fighter is fired. Dana White's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. And he fires John Fitch, lets John Fitch go. John Fitch goes to the World Series of Fighting and loses. And it's funny because everyone's upset about Okami being let go. Yet the same people that bitch about Okami being let go are the same people that said, oh, yawn, when Okami was on a freaking card. So all you people that were crying and ripping the UFC and, oh, what a joke it is that Okami got let go by the UFC, then I assume all you people are going to be watching him at the World Series of Fighting, right? Which you won't. You just bitch then, but you won't watch after the fact. It is what it is. Fighters get cut. And I'll tell you what, when you look back at the history of all these fighters that get cut from the UFC and then go on to Bellator or go on to the World Series of Fighting, they're all installed as big favorites and they all lose. King Mo lost as an 18-1 favorite. They all lose. So I don't care who Okami's fighting. I'll be taking the other guy. Congo's the first guy to actually win after being released by the UFC. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. Thanks to Kuhne from Fightnomics.com joining us. I really appreciate the numbers perspective that he brings to the table. We encourage people to check out the website and purchase his upcoming book as well. It's going to be just full of MMA information. Shout out to our boy Joey Odessa. Always a pleasure crunching the numbers with Joey as well. For all of my final UFC 166 selections, log on to sportsragetv.com. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.